Oh, hello again. This time I will tell you about how to re-grease the focus helicoid in the Minolta MC Rokkor-PF 1.4 58mm. I mean, this lens really have a stiff focus, so it's really hard to focus on this. So one have to use a lot of force to actually focus between near end and infinity, and I cannot only use my, well, I have to press really hard. Well, so how to do that actually? Well, we need some tools. In this case I will just use my modified PH00, so it works as a JIS 00. It's very important to the screws here, so you not damage the screw. We need a lens spinner. This is an old, really old compass, which I have filed and grind, so it can be used for disassembled lenses and other tricky parts. We need some dentist tools, which can be very handy with very sharp point. We need some brushes, and we need some grease. This is very soft, which is softer than butter. So I will use that in this lens. See how it works. It can only be better. We need some Isopropylalcohol 99% for cleaning the helicoids, and of course some grease. I mean, not grease, but Loctite 243. It's the blue one. And what else? Well, we can use this measure to measure how long the when the focus is at infinity, to measure how long is the whole focus system before I disassemble. Very important. So, how to get into this nice old lens? There are 8 screws around here, but there's only 4 of them who actually where the mount is actually attached directly to the focus, to the lens block assembly. So one is on the top of the lens, which one can say closest to the distant mark. There's one there long, and there's one on here on one side, on the other side, and there's one in the bottom. And the last 4, which is very short, is only going into the ring around where the mount is actually attached to. So I only need to take out 4 screws. So this, and this. And now the mount is free. See, they are quite long. And of course, well, I have been into this lens before, but when I got it, it was very rusty inside and nothing was actually working. So I missed some screws, but well, it doesn't matter in this case. And I got it really cheap. But if it can come to work, back to normal work, it will be fine. So just take out the mount. This pin here, which is the connection of from the camera, is pushing against this one, So when assemble the mount, this pin has to push on here. Maybe it's better to see it in the opposite side. Yes. So it has to push on this pin here. Difficult to get it to work, showing. Well, I think you got the idea. So when you push on this one, it will again push on this one and open the blades. Now, and off with the aperture ring. So we are back on the back of the lens. So, and take care of the elements. Now I will take off the front nameplate, and for that I will use my adjustable old compass. So the notches are very small, so be careful. The lens tool has to fit. And then use some force, and to make it a lot easier, one can also use some of those rubber cones which you can buy on the internet. And thank you, Richard, for those. So that's very easy to unscrew it. That's it. Now the front ring here also needs to come out. And there's only sit with 3 screws here. And I will set a mark here where the screws actually have to sit. Not where they sit, but so I have a reference on the distance mark. Small screws, I mean not that small, but and the last one here. Take off the ring, no problem. And now we are actually closer to what we need to take out, because the whole lens assembly will come out in one piece, and therefore it's much easier to take off the mount before and the nameplate on front, and then loosen the 4 screws around here. I do not need to take out the front lens group, not necessary. Just keep in mind that before you disassemble the lens, it will make it a lot easier to put it back in if you set a mark here, one here. I mean, so it has a reference to the distance mark here. Then it's much easier when you assemble the lens again. Good with a magnetic screwdriver and some lenses. And then it will just pop out. So this is how it looks. I know there's a lot of dust inside here, but I was thinking of making another film about that, but sooner. So this is actually the focus system, or the focus assembly. I have been into this lens before to investigate how it was put together, and it fooled me a little, but it turned out to be fine. Now I begin with set the lens, the focus to infinity. That's my starting point. And to be sure the focus helicoid is coming back to the actual place where they should be. There are many points, starting points, ending points on those focus helicoid thread, and therefore you can be you can come out in those situations where you cannot figure it out. Where was my starting and ending point? So before any disassemble, I will recommend it that you set a mark here. There's one screw here, and I will just set a mark here, and I will set a mark here, and also on the focus, the inside of the focus ring. So it looks like some here. So because then I know exactly where the focus ring will sit when I put things back in the lens again, in the focus assembly. Yeah, you know what I mean. There are only 3 screws, and they have a small spacer. Remember that. You can see there. So after that, and then take out the focus ring itself. This has a tab here. It's for the ending. When the helicoid go on, the focus ring go to stop, ending point for the infinity, but it also go all the way over to 0.6, because there is some, in this case here, there's a point down here where it cannot go any further, and on the other side there's also over here where it cannot go any further. Now to get the inner helicoid off, or the outer, I need to have some reference. So before I take this part, this assembly apart, I will measure how long is it actually when it's set to infinity. Okay, I have to turn off, turn on. It's 0. Brr. So it will be something like 21:17. Remember that, or write it down. And so it is. So that's my starting point. And I know this ring, the inner ring, has to go all the way, actually over to here, but I will show you. So I need to take out the back ring here, which has the pin here that, but I don't know the name of it, but it prevents the focus ring here from just unscrew. So there are 4 screws and 1 point more. To be sure that when I'm done everything is in correct place, I put a mark here, which I have already. I already have a mark here, and, which is also important, I set a mark here. It will be very handy when assemble the lens again, because you need to know where the actual part of the focus system have to go off the thread, and of course you have to go in the same thread again when assembling the lens again. If not, well, you do not have the correct focus. So those 4 screws, out with them. I could also have taken this guide pin, whatever it calls. I could have taken it off, but I need to come into this ring, and for that, well, I need to take off the back here. In some other lenses is different, depending on type and brand, but let's see how it will go. I mean, it can only be much better than it was. So, off with that. Now I will take one ring at a time. So I will take the inner first. So remember, I have the mark here and the mark here. So how will it go off the thread? Well, I know, because I've been in there, it will go off here. So a little more than 1 revolution will this ring will go on off the thread. So keep 2 fingers on here and it's very sticky, so I have to go like this all the way around. I already put a mark here, so I know where the mark is on the outside. So when I come up here, I already put a small arrow, and when it comes to there, it will pop off there. See? So be very careful to set the mark where the thread goes off, because you have to put it back in the same thread. So if I go all the way around here, I will end up with the thread in the same place and the focus is correct. So now off with that. There it goes. Now the outer ring, which I will do the same, but the thread is much finer. So it has to go 9 1/4 turn when it comes off. So this is my starting. Difficult to see. This is my starting, where I set my mark here on the outer ring and my reference mark here. Now I also set a mark over here where the thread will go off. Now from this, maybe I should put a small mark here. It'll make it easier for you to see. It will come off anyway when I put in then the solvent. So 9 turns to off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now it comes to the point where the thread will go off. So I have to follow all the way slowly because it feels very loose at the moment. So it will puff off there. See? That is why it is so important to put marks, small marks. No one will see them when the lens is assembled. So, but if you do not have them, you're lost. Now, cleaning time. This is isopropylalcohol, 99%. And I will just put on some gloves to make it a little more easy to clean them. So let's jump the things into the cleaning solvent. There, and this ring, maybe should have done it in different direction. And to speeding up the process, I'll just use a fine makeup brush. I could have used lighter fluid, but it stinks like something not really healthy. So I mean the isopropyl alcohol will be a little better. Just not put your nose directly into it. And because it's very fine brush, it will go into the thread and take out and wipe out the old sticky grease. Well, I will be back in few seconds, few minutes. I will just clean this. So now back from cleaning. Well, it's, I think the water has maybe made some damage, but well, let's see what's happened. This old lens. The thread here seems to be okay, but not in the super best condition. But even if I clean it as much as possible, it will not do any difference. So my marks here, yes. So, and now it's time for a fine brush like this, and a tiny amount of lube. I think we'll just do some shaking. It's just a tiny amount of lube that this focus thread need. So let's see how it will go. I think I will begin with this one. I mean, there's no idea to put a lot of grease on this, because then you have to just wipe it away. It's not because it's not that expensive. I cannot remember how much I actually give for this little container of grease, but it was not much. But it's a good price compared to other grease, special greases, as I said. So I think this should be okay. For the inner ring, the threads are much bigger here, so it needs a little more. But again, not too much. There's no need to overdo the thing. Okay, I think it will be fine. And then the brass ring, it doesn't need that much because they're already on the other thread. But let's see how it will work in that lens. Sometimes I use tree flow, which I think is very good for some lenses. Not all, but so that's it. And then I can just add my my inner ring with my marks on. Where did they go? Here. Should be there. And it comes off there, so it has to go there again. Click. It says wow. Oh, it's really great, I can say. one can just wipe away the rest of the too much grease. This is really good. So I have my point there, and I think I will just give the brass ring just a little. It will come when I put the outer ring on. I have my mark here, which you maybe can see, and this ring come off here at my off mark here, and then it has to go on again. And now I have the quarter, which it's come off, so I put it on again. Click and go a quarter, and then 9 turns back to my actually 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So that's where I begin from not so long ago. Just wipe away the rest of the grease. And then I can just put things back into where it was. So let's see if I can do some kind of cleaning here. I don't know where this lens has been. Maybe on the beach. Somewhere in the Of course I could just add this to the well, I will just give it a cleaning. So I will be back and then continue. Just wipe the rest of the dirt away. Wow, I think this grease is absolutely perfect for this lens. And when I have cleaned the actual glasses inside, it will be a perfect lens for photography. Just add a little of this grease here. And then it's time to put it back in again. So where I just check my reference point, where should they sit? There. Actually, there. And so I can just put the back ring on again. And then my screw holes should be where they should be. That's interesting to see how it will work when putting things in place again. I'll just check and then what you say is take off the back here and put thread lock on the screws just to check how it is. Yeah, fine. How about the measure? And it should be something like 17. So there, yeah. It cannot be better than that. But wow. Now this is a really soft focus. That's great. So there's no need for, take out things again, but I will just add some thread lock to the back ring. Just need a piece of paper. Just a little amount of that. It will be okay for all the screws. Just a tiny amount. It will be a lens that will work like when it was new for I don't know how many years it is, but so you see it's not that hard, but the only main thing you have to remember is to set the mark where the helicoid gets off the thread. If not, how can you determine where the correct thread is if you haven't any reference? Well, I don't know, but some people can figure it out, but I think this is just the case, the way I work, and it works pretty good most of the time. And these tiny screw for the focus ring. Again, I have my mark here where it should, so I know exactly where things should be when assemble the lens again. So this is the grade 10 on Japan Hobby Tools, or you can get them on eBay or somewhere else. I don't know, maybe on Amazon. I'm not quite sure about that. And the last one. Wow, it's like butter. This is absolutely even if the thread was a bit used, if one can say that. So yeah, let's get into the rest of it. I think I will take in the lens assembly, put that in, and I have a mark here. And another thing, if you haven't put any mark, how would you determine where this lens assembly should sit? Well, okay, there is one point that I just figured out. The lens assembly can only sit in one way, because this side, on the side of here, is actually flat. I haven't recognized that in the point here. So it will rest against this here. So maybe I should just add a little grease on the outer side. Aha, well, one learns something every day. But it's a lot easier if you just set a mark, so you know exactly where it should sit. So, there it is. And a screw. Just a tiny amount of thread lock. I don't think there was any thread lock on this, on those screws here. I mean, some lenses has thread lock in, depends maybe on which brand they are. But so now the front ring sits there. A screw, there's no need for putting thread lock on that. I think I could, but I have to go into the lens again when I will clean it, so it will make it easier to unscrew for that. So, it feels like new. It's really, really good. Now, the aperture ring goes on. Has to sit there. And it feels a little, what do you say, stiff. So I maybe should add a little of some of this absolutely great grease, just a tiny amount. It will go all the way around. So, add on with that. So here, yeah, it's much better. So put the this pin here, go against the pin here. Remember that. So put it on. And see how it will work. Oh, just go on the other side of pin, so it will be there. The free hole has to sit there with the long screw and some thread lock. screw it in. There's only 3 screws in this lens, so it doesn't matter. So, yeah, and the nameplate goes on. And so we are actually done. Has to find the thread, click. It's so easy with those cones. And I will just use my lens spinner to do the rest. And so that was actually that. Hope you enjoy the content and actually can see how easy, easy to re-grease an old lens like this. It will be the almost same in the 1.7 or 55mm. So, but this is really good. I can just use my finger without any, not much pressure. Before it was very sticky. So hope you enjoy the content, and there will be more films. Bye bye.